another episode of Americana. I'm Willie Montague.
And I'm Shakia Hinton.
Tonight, we're moving past the spend and into substance, the decisions shaping your paycheck, the culture shaping your household, and the policies that don't stay in Washington, they land in your community. Here, we confront reality head on so you can decide what kind of country we're becoming. Buckle up, you guys. This is Americana. All right, you guys, coming up on today's episode, new election rules ahead of midterms, and then slavery wasn't that deep. That's going to definitely be a good conversation there. And then stakeholders, capitalism, reform or overreach, and then to tie it all together, Florida is cutting HIV meds for 16,000 people. Let's get into the conversation of what is happening out there with the new election rules. The U.S. House of Representatives is preparing to consider sweeping election changes ahead of the November midterm elections. Republican-led proposals like Save America Act and the Make Elections Great Again Act would impose photo ID requirements, proof of citizenship to register, limits on mail-in voting, and other federal controls. Of course, supporters call it essential to restore confidence in elections. Critics warn it could disenfranchise millions of eligible voters and federalize elections. Here we are. As we said, it was coming.
Yeah.
And it is here.
It's here.
Now, you know, even though without the glasses, I'll be...
we're going to see. Tap in.
Do you think this is tying into the Project 2025? Was this part of it?
I don't recall, but I know that there were topics in there that involved voting and restrictions for voting. So this may be a part of Project 2025 for sure.
So for me, I don't see the problem with the photo IDs and things because I feel like we already have had that. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't know what with this because when I saw this, I'm like, well, what is really restrictive when these are things that are needed anyways? Like when I go to vote, I still have to present some form of ID plus my voter registration if necessary. So where is actually the restriction when it comes to this? That's a
fair question. I think a lot of it has to do with the timing of when they're asking. Okay. Like if we're having a primary or some people are having races in March, if they're asking people to show their proof of ID or like change their address on their license or whatever, some people may not have the means to do that going into election season. And so it's just kind of like, can we have something at the top of the year where it's blanket and it gets me across the finish line from now until the end of midterm elections? Like, why is there a constant change with all of the voting rolls?
And that is interesting because when I look at what's been happening on both sides with the voting, mm-hmm. It seems like there's a lot. Now, I know that on Democrats and Republicans, both have been focusing on cleaning out the voter roll. And when we talk about cleaning out the voter roll, that's removing those who are deceased. Mm-hmm. That's those who are no longer voting for that particular party and they're mm-hmm. now done switched. Maybe they haven't went in and signed, or they need to update their signatures on their voter cards. And so that's part of clean out the roll. But it does come in a time like this when it's like, well, is this something to stop people from getting out and voting when they don't have it? Now, I do know. And I don't know if this is for every state. I do know in Florida, you are able to, I cannot think the name of it, but it's like it's almost like a food truck for IDs that they go around, they offer free IDs, especially for those who are like homeless or those who are not able, and they're able to, you go in the truck, you fill out the paperwork, whatever, and they help you get the proper documentation to get your ID.
It's a part of the county or?
No, it's actually, I don't even think it's a part of anything. I think it's like one of, you know how you got some places that come in, like maybe they're funded by something. I don't even think it's a county thing, but I cannot think of the name of it. But I do know they go around and help people to get their IDs. And they help you not just to get the IDs, because I know sometimes it's the documents you need to get the ID.
Correct.
They help you to get the documents to get the ID as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I just think that we need to use those resources. I've said before, there's resources out there, and everybody can't do it. Mm-hmm. But we need people to vote. So go out there, get your ID, so you can be able to get in that line and vote. But I am not, this is what I would say, I am for a little bit of restrictions because I believe that we do have some problems going on in the voting, cesspool of things.
What type of problems?
I do believe that there are people that are standing at the voting. They're still not adhering to these 100-yard, 200-yard, 150-yard distances you're supposed to have. For those that don't know, that people who are, whether they're working with campaigns or whatever, they're with their organization like League of Women Voters. You're supposed to be so many yards away from the voting polls so that you are not basically, what would be the word? You're basically not swaying someone in a particular way. And I just do not see that being adhered to sometimes. I feel like people just a little bit cross over in that. I think it needs to be like, you need to be across the street. You don't even need to be on the same street.
Now, do you think that should be the responsibility of the poll workers or the location that is actually housing the polling station or election police?
That's a good question. I don't think we need to have election police.
Okay, there we go. All right.
I do not think we need to have.
I was a little concerned.
Yeah, I don't think we need to have election police because at the end of the day, some people don't know. I myself have been guilty of going out and running for office, going out and not realizing, because to be honest, sometimes those signs are knocked down. Sometimes you really don't know because every location of a polling booth is different. It's shaped different. It's some of them at churches, some of them are at lodges. And it's like, okay, you just riding up and you see everybody else with a sign, you just go where you see people, and then you're like, oh, well, you can't be there, and here they come out here with the little vests and stuff. So I just think it needs to be clear, if it just don't even have us on the same street. Don't even make it 100 yards, because who's going to actually measure it? Most of the time at those polling places, they do have like little tents to put up to go, but some of that stuff is not all the way accurate, and that's what I've seen. I'm not saying that in your state or wherever you are out there, but I think that across the board we do need to like tighten down on people interfering with elections, even if it's to a small degree like that.
I'm definitely against election police. I think that is a part of an intimidating factor in itself when you have someone who is walking around either with a badge or with a gun or some type of weapon at a polling site. Like, it's not that serious, or it shouldn't be that serious. And so we'll see how this midterm election goes, because there's talks of this could be our last election. Last shot at election of democracy.
My best friend asked me that. He said, Willie, what do you think about this with, when President Trump made a comment about, being the last election and what that, so we'll get into that maybe in another time. So speaking of there being the last of something, let's discuss why some people feel that slavery wasn't that deep. Now, I don't agree with this, because when I look at these pictures of what the marks and the scars and the bruises that have been upon the people, our people, it is deep. And the reason it's deep, and I use this example, I'm excited in the Lord today. I use an example. When I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I went to North Tulsa where the race riot took place, and you can still feel the weight of what had happened, even though it was at that time, almost 100 years, past. And so even though people may not want to live as if we are in that type of slavery today, where we're not being whipped, we might not being chained, but when something oppresses a people, or when something overcomes a person's mind, you can't just expect that lingering effect to just come out of the atmosphere. Like, people remember and they feel something that's there. And so it is serious for those who were impacted, whether it was their family indirectly, or like I think the last one of the last lady that was there in Tulsa had just recently passed away. Yeah. And so, to live through that and still live here and probably look at the world today and be like, well, did we overcome? Right. That kind of thing. So anyway.
I think it is that serious, to your point. Like, we are the only people that I know of that were brought over here against our will, and made to work for other people at the degree that we were, right? We were trained to horses, and they hit the horses back and had the horses pull our limbs from, one end to the other. We were hung from trees or from bridges, and people actually stood next to our bodies and took pictures or had picnics underneath a dead corpse. Children were murdered, children were raped and beaten, separated from their mothers and their families. Like, there's a lot of history, and there's a reason why Blacks or African Americans continue to bring up the topic of slavery, because we still feel that, to your point. There is still a level of oppression that we feel, although we've made some progress in certain areas. But when you have someone like Trump in office and the bills and the laws that he's trying to remove that actually allowed us to have a level of freedom, it makes you think, like, why are we going backwards? Why is there such a degree of determination to chain us in a different way? No, you can't beat us. No, you can't whip us. But there are other ways that you are oppressing us from progressing in society today. So I hate when people say, why y'all still talking about that? Like, that happened so long ago. Yes, it happened long ago, but here's a reason why. You get that?
Well, it really is not that long ago, to be honest.
That's very true.
It's really not that long ago. And I think that what we have to realize in our country is that it happened. I think it even Byron Donalds, even he mentioned it, I think it was him, that mentioned that these things happen, and these are the things that we cannot get rid of in our country. That cannot be the part that cannot be part of the conversation when we say make America great. It cannot exclude what made us need to have a forward movement of who we are as a people of color. Now, what bothers me is that here we are in Black History Month, and I've seen so many people, especially within the Republican Party, and I'm talking about y'all today, that has come against the Black History Month. But I never see that same energy for Hispanic, the Holocaust, the Hispanic Heritage Month, Jewish Heritage Month. None of that ever gets the amount of flack it does for Black History Month. And I have a big problem with that. I said, if you're going to go out there and you're going to have your Mardi Gras and you're going to go out there and have your Cinco de Mayo and go out there and do all of these things that represent other cultures, but instead of coming, even my brother, even the Haitian has their Independence Day that's celebrated. But when it comes to us Black folk here, we have a problem. But I'm not going to stay there. I love all y'all out there in Jesus' name. All right, we move on. Stakeholder capitalism, the idea that corporations should serve employees, communities, and social causes, not just shareholders, was once held as the future of business, but critics now argue it went too far, too fast, pulling corporations deep into politics, culture, debates. Let's dive into this.
Yeah.
Business has started being more political, and I think that is where we're seeing a decline. I think actually I've seen something. Who was it that was just a lady posted after the what we just had last Sunday, Super Bowl.
Okay.
And she said she runs a bar. She said about 80% of the people in the bar, they were wanting to watch the Turning Point. Halftime. The other 20% wanted to watch the one with Bad Bunny. She said she put on both TVs. She said the 20% of those who wanted to watch Bad Bunny left her all negative reviews because they didn't want to see anything to deal with the
Turning Point
part. And I look at that as we talk about capitalism, we talk about stakeholders and where it should be. This is someone who had her customers are her stakeholders, and we live in a capitalism country, a capitalist country. And here we are, politics has moved over to where now it is to me, it is causing a frustration in the business sector, because now like business people can't even get away from politics. It's almost like they're being forced to choose to whom are you going to support, and whether or not I'm going to come and sit at your restaurant or I'm going to come to your coffee shop because of who and what you support.
There's a fine line for me that I don't think that's wrong. And here's why. I want to go where I am supported and celebrated. I don't want to go somewhere and eat food from someone who doesn't like people who look like me. there's a chance that y'all could spit in my food or put doo-doo in my food, and I'm up here
The
just
help.
the help, just like the help. I'm up here consuming this food, and you completely hate me, right? Whereas we have Target. Target was a huge mecca for businesses when it comes to DEI. They were almost like the blueprint of how to be inclusive with diversity, inclusion, equity, all the things. And it wasn't until they were exposed as to supporting Trump and funding, various things that we don't have to get into right now, which led to the boycott, right? So because they removed DEI from their focal point, that means the people that were once supporting them and cheering them on because of their diversity and equity and inclusion are now removing their dollars, and they're feeling that. They are no longer considered to be a top company to work for because of that. Like, that is huge. They were always at the top of the charts for that, but because they no longer cater to those who support their business, they are feeling it tremendously. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And the reason is because you want to cater to the people who actually keep your doors open. There's a fine line that you have to walk with that. Now, do I think that companies should go back to being silent? I think it's too late for that. I think the cat is out the bag.
And that is true. I do think it's too late for us to even see businesses go back into that. I saw that back where it was, I think during 2020, it was a lot of businesses that suffered during that because it was during all the January 6th, not just in D.C., but across. So during that time, in January 6th, those that didn't go to Washington, D.C., each capital was supposed to have their own January 6th type event, or each city. And I saw where there was businesses that were like, getting, disrespected because they either chose one of the other sides. And I'm like, and it is hard to go back from that because now people want to know, and they can. I mean, you choose where you want to go eat. And I just feel like when it's the people that's behind there, you going in to do a job, go in and do your job to the best ability. Because actually, when I go sit down and eat, I don't, now I may go in there and have American, flag, a pin or something, but I'm not expecting people to be like, oh, that's a patriot over there. He's, but it'd be like, okay, maybe he's just, maybe it's a military, whatever. But I don't want
to use that accent. I just noticed that.
So let me tell you why I use it. Well, I'm not gonna say it because I got to say somebody's name. There was a particular person that was running for office, and he went in there, and the guy that was over it mocked him and was like, because he was like, "Oh, brother, I'm a patriot," and that's why I always use that. So it's just a little bit.
It's like a southern twang, and
we're a patriot.
I can't.
I am a little country.
Yeah, you are.
Just a little bit. From North Carolina.
Yeah.
You are. Nonetheless, let's rolling on up. But as we get ready to conclude, and we're moving up to the next topic here, let's talk about what's happening in Florida. Y'all love Florida. All right. Yeah. Florida is cutting HIV meds for 16,000 people. Why?
That is a good question. The ACA subsidies, right? Because Congress could not come to an agreement. Funding has been cut for that population of people. And so because of that funding being cut, 16,000 people are no longer able to receive the free medication for HIV. Now, my question is, if they're not able to receive the funding for that, I am concerned that, one, it could be another outbreak, right? Two, we are going to lose some of those 16,000 people because they're not able to continue their medication. Their medication is prevention, whether people want to believe that or not. And it's a part of healthcare. So we're going to lose a part of that 16,000 people, and it's going to be based off of those who can and cannot afford it. Some people can't afford their $4,000 of medication that they have to have every month. That is insane. HIV medication by itself is a mortgage payment for some people. So when you think about that, there's going to be a lot of people at risk, not just for the 16,000 people who are, not able to afford it at this point.
It's interesting that this is even something that we have to bring up, because when we talk about just the quality of life, everyone who has HIV, by the way, of course, I hope you guys know this. Don't mean they're out there, hoeing and doing stuff.
Correct.
It could have come through birth. It could have come
Yeah.
through, all kinds of any types of way other than the way that people assume that
Correct.
that you can get HIV.
Thank you for stating
and
that.
So I feel like with that, we need to understand the importance of people in America. And one of the talking points that we always see out there with politicians on both sides is the quality of life. And health is a part of quality of life. If I wake up and I don't feel 100%, my quality of life for that day is not going to be, I may not make my bed that day because I'm not feeling 100. I may not get my cup of coffee. I may not have my taste buds. That's part of quality of life. So I feel like with this, we got to get away from trying to choose because of HIPAA. Nobody that's in Tallahassee can be able to know the reason why these individuals need this medication. So to assume that 16,000 people are out having, sexual deviance, and that this is the reason why they need the medication, I think we need to, reevaluate the fact that, or just to re-educate, the communities, because if there is indeed, as you said, another outbreak, then what's going to happen? Because then, then it's going to be all of a sudden a rush vaccine or something that they want everybody to take because it's this outbreak. And so I think that we need to really start reevaluating quality of life when we talk about everyone who needs things that helps them to be, a part of society, but also that's preventing them from spreading something that they, even to some that, may think that they're in the clear. You may have low, I forgot what the name of it is, but anyway, when they go
into undetected,
and those things pop up and unclear. So I would hate to see, that number of people, even half of them, if they.
And it's not just those who are impacted with HIV. We can say this about chemo recipients, people who usually have like kidney dialysis, or anybody that is having a medical issue and they were receiving some type of help to alleviate the pressures of their monthly bill for this could eventually be impacted. It just so happens that 16,000 people are now a part of that number who are impacted with HIV.
And
this is just for Florida. That's not for any.
Florida, right?
Yeah.
And imagine what would be with the dialysis, because I have family members that have recently passed away with dialysis. But dialysis is needed. Some people have to take it maybe once or twice. Some people take it every day. And so we really have to. And I'm not moving from the fact that I don't think we need free health care, but I do think that we need to have a better health care system.
I think we need free.
Well, you think we have free somehow?
Dummy.
Now wait a minute before we move on. Now he said that, what was it that he said he was going to do about the buses, and he still went up on prices.
I can't speak to that man's policy. All I know is he's doing a great job.
That said it.
He's doing a great job so far. Free daycare for the folks. Now that in itself, listen, daycare is expensive per week. Top daycares, you are paying like $265 or more, especially if you want the daycare with the cameras. Oh, baby.
I think New York City got it because they have all kinds of activities, stuff like that.
I'm not going to do this with you.
So they got it going on. Well, Black History Month spotlight for today is the wonderful Coretta Scott King. Coretta Scott King was more than the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She was a powerful civil rights leader in her own right. After her husband's assassination, she carried forward the movement of justice, peace, and nonviolence, establishing the King Center for Nonviolent Social Change. She advocated for civil rights, women's rights, and global human rights, proving that leadership continues even in the face of loss. Her quote is, "Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation."
That's deep. Yes. We quote a lot from her husband, but we rarely quote things from her. I wish we had more documentation from when she was, around and all the things and speaking. And so there's a lot of treasures in that, but I'm sure. So today was great, y'all. It's hump day. So join us tomorrow for Friday Junior. I'm Shakia Hinton.
And I'm Willie Montague.
Thank you so much for tuning in on AFRO TV. We'll see you guys same time, same place right here tomorrow. Have a good evening.